Hello and welcome to the second speed paint commentary video on this channel. I'm gonna show you a speed paint of how I did this. Obviously, here are the references. I put them on the canvas because Procreate doesn't have an option to have multiple references at once. It's driving me crazy. I always start with a very simple sketch. Look at that dynamic pose. I'm proud of that. And also, yeah, my way of using references here was rather inconvenient. I usually like to sketch with an airbrush and also with some tone of gray. I don't want the colors to be too light or too dark. So yeah, middle tones it is. Somehow I did not notice how long Allen's upper body was, and in comparison how tiny his head was. I actually haven't told you what this fan art is about. Some of you may already know, but I'm still gonna say it for the people who don't. Correct me if I pronounce it wrong. The characters are called Riliane and Allen, or Riliane and Allen. I'll come to that part later. And they're part of the Chronicle of Evil series, which basically originated from Vocaloid songs with a whole lot of lore. These two are based off Rin and Len. Or Rin and Len. Let me explain. But trigger warning, the story's pretty dark. Correct me if I'm wrong again. So this is Riliane, the princess, or also daughter of evil. And this is her servant, Allen. They're twins. Long story short, she's sentenced to not alive, and he's very loyal, so they swapped clothes, and I only know that from the memes though. I have no idea how the actual story goes, because the story is long enough for every character to have their own biography on Wikipedia. Back to the art. Here you can see me coloring the line art. Yes, I do use my sketches as line art. And then I did heavy shading. Of course, I lowered the opacity later on, but this is great to have a good view of what you're doing. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing most of the time, but it works. That's why I struggle when people ask for tutorials, because my process is never the same. But you know what I love doing? Adding rim light or rim light, haha. Because if you do the rim light right, it makes the art look more atmospheric. You know what makes it even more atmospheric? Adding backgrounds. We love backgrounds, don't we? Here I heavily concentrated on Riliane's face. That's all I did that evening, and I think it took me over an hour. And then I decided to hide it behind her fan. Then I did the same with Allen's face, and I can proudly say that I did not hide it behind anything. What an accomplishment. After that, I swapped over to Riliane again, but this time the upper part of her dress. We don't talk about the lower part. I refuse to touch that for quite a long time. This dress has an endless amount of ruffles on the sleeves and also on this part. Ooh, look at her. She applied some shading. How brave. That was a lot of work. But looking back, I'm really proud of it. I don't even know how I managed to do that, but it basically works like this. Noodles, and then make them not look like noodles anymore. Add shading where it feels right. That's what I wanted to say. What is going on with my throat? Are you supposed to put that in a speed paint commentary? Generally speaking, probably not. But it's not like there are rules to it. I'm not gonna lie, it was actually pretty fun to shade. But it was so hard. It was a lot of pain. It's hard to be an artist. And it's hard to speak English. But what I wanted to say, it's getting a bit philosophical right now. That's not philosophical. But take a bit of advice from me. Don't just think that how other people are doing stuff is the only right way to do it. Of course, I'm not talking about rules or facts or something illegal. But for example, as an artist on social media, I always feel like I have to stay professional when recording speed paint commentaries, for example. I'm always like, how do people do that? What do you say to the people? What? And it's the same for TikTok or YouTube shorts. I want to follow trends. I want to do stuff that other people do, and that's fine, but I'm getting bored of it eventually. Now, the videos that I did where I was not exactly sure what I was doing, these videos did great. My water glass did not. But yeah, let the intrusive thoughts win. Do stuff you want to do, even though no one else has done it before. Maybe you'll fail, maybe not. It's all try and error. But yeah, that's something I realized and I wanted to share it with you. Now, back to the painting. I struggled with Allen's face, so I did this again, but it didn't help at all. I still hadn't realized that his head was way too small. I even cut it off, how canon, and tried to adjust it. Then I finally realized that he was just too small. Jump scare warning. His head looks like a balloon at first, but it gets better. Oh, and here's some pattern for the fan. And now the final stage is reached. I'm rendering to get more detail and even more intense detail. And the picture kind of looks like it stays the same, but you can still see that it's getting more and more refined. At this point I question myself, when the am I finished? And I decided to leave it like that. Tell me if you like it and tell me if you don't like it. No, don't tell me that. But yeah, that's the end result. I hope you had fun watching and see you next time.